Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm here to do a reading update. I'm doing it this way this month because I'm not doing any readathons, so I can just do kind of what I read every week. It gets confusing to do that when you have readathons because you have to well, it's just how I organize things. I put the prompt and then the book, so my reading is in order. Anyway, so yeah, this makes it much better because I can talk about the books that I read when they're fresh in my mind. So let's get started. I have a good collection. I've read a lot this week, and most of them have high ratings. We're going to start with one that didn't, though. Rule number 1 for my TBR game was a book in a series, and I decided to finally start the Fog Harbor series. So I read The Words We Lost by Nicole Dees. Nicole Dees is a very hit or miss author for me. I either really love the books or the man really infuriates me and I give it a low rating. And really, that's where this one fell. I like the other two in the series more. I'm really interested in book 3, but I'm someone who likes order, so yeah. We have 3 Friends, 2 Broken Promises, 1 Missing Manuscript. As an editor for Fog Harbor Books in San Francisco, Ingrid Erickson has rejected many a manuscript for lack of defined complex conflict and dramatic irony to elements of her current life possesses in spades. In the months following the death of her childhood best friend and international best-selling author Cecilia Campbell, Ingrid has not only lost her ability to escape into fiction due to a rare trauma response. That was actually interesting. Like, she can't focus on a book due to trauma, but she's also desperate to find the closure she's convinced will come with Cecilia's missing final manuscript. After Ingrid jeopardizes her career, she fears her future will remain irrevocably broken. But then Joel Campbell, the man who shattered her belief in happiness and happily ever afters, who's also Cecilia's cousin, offers her a sealed envelope from Cecilia, asking Joel and Ingrid to put their differences aside and retrieve a mysterious package in their coastal Washington hometown. So basically, she has to go back to Washington where all the heartbreak began, and yeah, they discover that what's in the package, and I liked Ingrid a lot. I loved her partner in Fog Harbor Books. He's really funny. Kind of wish she dated him instead. But I think it's a me problem because I just tend to not do well with books where it's a second chance romance, because most of the time I feel like you broke up for a reason, and a lot of times the reason is too much for me to get over. So I do not root for the happily ever after, which is what this was. I didn't even like Cecilia that much. I felt like they were 2 rich kids who got in too deep with this poor girl and tried to, be saviors for her, and they didn't know what they were getting into, and they ruined things for her. They're trying to help her, but the way they tried to help her, I don't think, I didn't like it. It felt too much like a savior complex, like they're trying to save the poor girl from the wrong side of the tracks or whatever. It just felt, and they just felt really condescending, like the way they were toward Ingrid's dad. I'm not saying the man was a saint, because he kind of sucked too, but it doesn't occur to them that there's more that meets the eye in their perfect, because of their perfect little lives, and just, I don't know, I just didn't like the dynamic between the 3 of them, and even between her and Joel. The secrets he kept from her wouldn't even let me be friends with him, let alone date him. So I just disliked him a lot. I forgave Cecilia more because she's dead. But and I also don't really like the whole, I'm keeping the secret about you to protect you. You're not protecting me. You just made it much harder. And I don't know, I just don't find protective males endearing. I find them suffocating and bossy. So he just annoyed me. So I gave it 3 stars because the story was compelling, but I didn't like the other 2 people in this trio very much. I liked Cecilia's mom. And Cecilia at certain points. Oh, yeah, and Cecilia's kind of a matchmaker, which is also another annoyance of mine. Hopefully I like the other two more, because I have the whole series. I really want to get to book 3. Then I read Time for You by Elizabeth Davis. I needed something funny, and this delivered. I heard about this one from Chloe from Always Booked. It came out last September. Basically, what happens when a 21st century woman falls for a 19th century Scotsman? She's basically, her name is Daphne. She's a first year Minnesota resident in emergency medicine when she rides her bike into a man who appears out of thin air. Physically, he's fine. Confused? Very. He claims he's Henry MacDonald from Edinburgh, Scotland, 1885. Now, this sounds like something Amanda would like because, you know, she likes Scottish men books, like Scotland books. She used to read Outlander before, you know, back in the day. But I don't think you could read this one, Amanda. I mean, there's a ton of swearing, and there's at least one open door scene. But, I mean, this book is funny. Like, they're, like, trying to get him into modern life, and he's so funny. Like, just, the whole thing was a comedy fest. It was just funny. Daphne is, like, annoyed by him constantly calling her milady because, you know, and he's, like, criticizing her jeans because they're scandalous. The whole thing is funny, and obviously they fall in love, and there's a thing, but it's just really funny how, like, all her friends just, like, bond with him, and they all have this, like, friend group, and really, it wasn't really, like, a story with much plot. It was just them teaching him to be a modern man, and, yeah, it was just really funny. And can he go home? Can he not? And does he want to go home because he falls in love with Daphne? It was just a funny rom-com, and I gave it 5 stars because I was just cackling so much. Then I fulfilled Alma's book Journey Through Time prompt. Read historical fiction set during colonial times, and I read America's First Daughter by Stephanie Dray and Laura Camoy. I actually first heard about this from Courtney from All Things Booked and Amanda from On the Middle Shelf. And then I started hearing about it from just other people in general. By the way, I only know this because I take notes about who I hear my books from. This was like years ago. So I just pasted in like the book information into this document. It's not that I have a super memory. Anyway, basically it is the story of Thomas Jefferson's oldest daughter, Martha Patsy Jefferson Randolph. They draw the information through letters, and it really does. It's narrative. I mean, well, it's not nonfiction exactly because they do take some liberties, but it's a really compelling story, and like the majority of what was in here comes from his like letters back and forth and stuff like that. So yeah, they write super long books. It took me like 4 days to listen to this one. But the narrator was great for the audiobook. There's a bit of like trigger warnings for non-consensual you know, touching and some domestic stuff between her and her husband. And yeah, we read about the Sally Hemings of it all, which was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic. I just saw that Tales with Tay put on her want to read list another book about her. I think it was called My Monticello or something. And now I'm curious to read this one to see how it compares. It sounds like it's a similar concept. It's like the story of Martha Jefferson, or Patsy. But yeah, we start the story when she's like 8 years old before her mom dies, and then just her life up until her father dies. And what's interesting is that like she did everything, all her decisions were about him, and that kind of ruined her love life a bit. So, and like everybody in her life was really frustrated because like her dad would always come first, above her husband, above her, pretty much above everything. So it was an interesting read and a compelling one. 5 stars. Then I needed something a little lighter, so I read The Melody of Love by Wanda E. Brunstetter. This is a recent release that I heard about from Chloe. It just came out July 1st. It's an Amish book. It's about Amelia. She's a widowed mother. She has an 8-year-old son named, what's his name? I already forgot his name. He's on the spectrum. And they actually, I didn't say his name. I guess I didn't end up in the synopsis. I can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway. But yeah, it really represents autism well. And it uses current terms like on the spectrum. And her son goes to the summer program for parents and children to teach them coping skills for how to deal with his autism. And according to the synopsis, she does go on this trip with her sisters to help with her cousin's wedding and meets this guy named Christian. And according to the synopsis, her son doesn't like him. And the synopsis makes it sound like the little boy doesn't like him and throws a tantrum every time he comes near him. But that's not actually what happens. He literally kind of snubs him once, and then by like meeting 2, they're best friends to the point that Amelia's jealous. I mean, I don't know where they got the synopsis, but anyway. Yeah, it was 4 stars. It was kind of predictable, but they did represent autism well. I was actually surprised at how much or how modern they ended up being because of their Amishness. I was worried that the specialist, I love the specialist too, she's also on the spectrum, that she would have to, like, her name was Maisie, I think? Anyway, how did I forget these people's names already? I just read this book. But yeah, I thought that she would resist some of the stuff because of their Amish beliefs and stuff. But yeah, they didn't. And yeah, it was just a nice romance. And yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't anything remarkable. Oh, it was called A Melody of Love because the little boy likes music. And that's how him and Kristen bond. He shows him how to play musical instruments. So, yeah, that's why it's called A Melody of Love. Yeah, I'm looking at the synopsis, and it says, Amelia's son is on the autism spectrum, doesn't like the new man who has been coming around, and he's often acts out in tantrums. Yeah, he has a few meltdowns, but it's not always because of him. Anyway, misleading. Then I finally decided to catch up on Meredith and Roxana's podcast, A Journey to 3 Pines. I'm like 4 episodes behind because I stopped reading the books. So I reread A Trick of the Light, which is Armand Gamache, 3 Pines book number 7, 5 stars. Can't really talk about it. It's in the middle of the series. Then I did another book in my TBR game. Rule number 7 was a book in a series. So I read A Summer Wedding for the Cornish Midwife. This is the Cornish Midwife series number 2 by Joe Bartlett. I gave this one 4 stars. It's a wedding day in Port Agnes, and senior midwife Anna Jones only has to say I do to the man she loves, but everything is happening. Everything that goes wrong does. And will this wedding to Bray Penrose happen? I love this one. I didn't love the first one in the series because it was a second chance romance. I'm noticing that about myself. I'm noticing I do not do second chance romances very well. I have to really, really forgive you to give you that second chance. But this one was, like, they just met. They met in the first book, and they were engaged by the second book. Their romance didn't really show that much. It was just kind of a side story, but we got to see their kind of romance up to the wedding, and she's also having fertility issues, so we hear a lot about that. And she kind of has this, like, fertility, like, a little mom's club with other women who have fertility issues. They're all midwives. So that's fun. And I love the midwifery aspect of it. So I'm enjoying the series, but I have to wait until later to read the next one. I mean, I don't have to, but I don't want to read the next book is a winter book. I think it's like a winter wish for the Cornish midwife. I'm waiting till winter because no, we're not reading a summer book in a winter book in summer. It's too hot. But yeah, I love this one. I give it 4 stars. It was great. Then roll number 12. Oh, I need to move this one down some. Hold on. I put it in the wrong spot because I haven't even finished it. Okay. Hold on. Okay. The next book I read was Beneath the Summer Sun, the Every Amish Season Collection #2 by Kelly Irving. I got this whole like box set on sale, so there's a story for each season, and each one is about a different woman in this like grief, in this widows club they have going on, like a grief Amish support group they each have, and each one of them is a little bit older. So like the first one was about a 21-year-old widow who like lost her husband when she was pregnant. The second one is a widow who's like in her late 30s, I think. She has 7 kids she's still raising, and she had an abusive husband who passed away. I had a very difficult time with this one. I gave it 4 stars, but there was kind of a love triangle in this. I think there's going to be a love triangle in every one of these books. So I'm not sure if I'm going to finish them because I haven't really been enjoying them that much. I'm very anti-romance this year. But it was a compelling story, so I gave it 4 stars. I've never seen an abusive, like, marriage in Amish books before. And I think one of the hard times I had with this one is that, like, the Amish way is not to fight. So there wouldn't be any cops called or anything like that anyway. And, like, the beliefs are that that's her husband. He can do whatever he wants. So I keep having to remind myself that this is pretty accurate for the Amish. But it was difficult to constantly read everybody telling her that. And, like, yeah, it was just, I don't know. And then, so yeah, she's kind of in love with this guy named Leo, but then there's this other Mennonite guy who sells books, who has his own religious trauma. His parents were missionaries, and they, like, left him to be missionaries, and he had leukemia, and, like, his mother was, like, justifying leaving him because it was, like, she had to do Jesus' work, and that came before anything, and I was kind of like, ugh. I don't think Jesus would want you to ditch your son with cancer, okay? Maybe I don't know if I'm speaking for God, but no. So that just made me mad. So, I don't know, like, these books deal with tough topics that upset me, I think. So I don't know if I'm going to keep going. They're compelling once you get into them, but I have a lot of feelings about them, and at least I read the first 2, so I can at least say I gave it a good shot because I bought, like, the set. Well, it was $5 for all 4 in one box set, so I don't think I'm going to keep doing this. I don't like it. Then roll number 5 of my dice was a reread, and I reread The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I gave it 5 stars. It was fun to revisit this one. Juliet Ashton is a writer and she's looking for her next subject. And she gets a letter from a man she's never met, a native from Guernsey who has come across her name written inside a book by Charles Lamb. And he tells her about their literary society, and, you know, she goes to see everyone in the literary society, and it's this lovely group of quirky found family, and there's a little kid involved, and, like, it's great. The audiobook is amazing. It's one of my favorite books. I try to reread it every year. And the summer is a perfect time because a lot of it takes place in the summer, so, yeah. Then, roll number 2, 26 and 2026. This is the last book that I read for this week. Drowning by T.J. Newman. I was supposed to read it last month, but I didn't get to it, so I'm going to try to read more books from my 26 and 2026 list. I made the mistake of putting books on it that are long, that I know I'm going to like, but they're really long, because I thought it would motivate me to read them, but no, I'm just picking the shortest ones. This was not one that I picked for this month. I picked it last month, never got to it. And then I don't feel like reading the long ones that I picked this month, so I went back to a short one. I have very few short ones left, but yeah, I read this one in like one sitting today. I gave it 5 stars. Drowning by T.J. Newman. 6 minutes after takeoff, flight 1421 crashes into the Pacific Ocean. During the evacuation, an engine explodes and the plane is flooded. Those still alive are forced to close the doors, but it's too late. The plane sinks to the bottom with 12 passengers trapped inside. More than 200 feet below the surface, engineer Will Kent and his 11-year-old daughter Shannon are waist deep in water and fighting for their lives. Their only chance of survival is an elite rescue team on the surface, led by professional diver Chris Kent, Shannon's mother and Will's soon-to-be ex-wife, who must work together with Will to find a way to save their daughter and rescue the passengers from the sealed airplane, which is now teetering on the edge of an undersea cliff. I mean, yeah, there's not much time. There's even less air. This was wild. I have to admit, I did not understand all the airplane terms, but it was still really good. Like, the suspense. And it kept twisting and turning until the very end. Like, literally the last line, you're like, it was amazing. I was just into it the entire time. I might just read Falling tomorrow. That's the other book I have by T.J. Newman. But yeah, for some reason, Drowning seemed more interesting in the moment. But yeah, and like all the people, there's a lot of swearing in this one too, just for the record. But I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm about to die on a plane, I'd be saying the F word a lot too. So I'm not going to hold it against these imaginary people. But yeah, I loved this book. Like, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I had an entire day to read it or listen to it, and I did, and I loved it. It's gonna make my favorites of the year, I think. One of the favorites of the year. Yeah, it was really good. I know Alma read it last year, I think, and liked it. So yeah, so that is everything that I read this first week of July. I've got 2 books going right now. I have, one of my roles was a nonfiction, so I'm listening to Waypoints by Sam Heughan. And yeah, I'm like, it's his travels through Scotland, I guess. And it's like a 6-day walk of some kind. So I'm reading 1 day per day, I guess. 1 chapter per day, day 1 through 6. So I'm taking my time with this one. It's really fun to listen to on audio. I think Amanda read it, Book Lover Amanda. So yeah, it also talks about his life as he's growing up, like in between travel stories. He gives us a little update on his life, which has been interesting. What else was I going to say about this one? I don't know, I'm just having fun with it. His voice is fun to listen to. Read it and stuff. So, yeah. And it's kind of a great summer book because it's like kind of a road trip, but walking. I thought that he was going to go with Graham, but I guess he's doing it by himself. Anyway. And the other book I just started is another 26 and 2026 pick. This time I didn't cheat, and I used the one that I picked for this month, which was long. The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. A long lost letter arrives in the post, and Edie Burchell finds herself on a journey to Milderhurst Castle, a great but moldering old house where the Blythe sisters lived and where her mother was billeted 50 years before as a 13-year-old child during World War II. The elder Blythe sisters are twins and have spent most of their lives looking after the third and youngest sister, Juniper, who hasn't been the same since her fiancé jilted her in 1941. Inside the decaying castle, Edie begins to unravel her mother's past, but there are other secrets hidden in the stones of Milderhurst, and Edie is about to learn more than she expected. The truth of what happened in the distant hours of the past has been waiting a long time for someone to find it. So, yeah. I love Kate Morton books. They're just so long. That's why I put one on my list to read this year, because I know I'm going to like them. It's just motivating myself to read them. And Krista from Books and Jams is reading it right now, too. So, I figured I'm at least in good company. And I've only started chapter 1, because I just finished Drowning, so yeah, I was kind of on a roll with my 26 and 2026. So, yeah, that's all I've got for this week's update. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!
Schedule. Stop recording.